Integrating Chinese culture and China's internet culture. Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Min Yu in Shanghai. In China, the internet plays a uniquely powerful role in popular culture. Witty content, often involving Chinese language puns or plays on words on social media, can make a huge impact here. That's partially because people in China have a relative dearth of exciting mainstream entertainment choices and trusted information sources, and because the one-child policy has left young people looking for opportunities to socialize. So how are foreign brands tapping into China's vibrant internet and social media culture? Ken Hong, Weibo's General Manager of Marketing Strategy, will share his point of view about how brands should be using mobile-based social media platforms in China as part of a special series in our show. But first, with us, Sam Fleming, founder and CEO, Kantar Media CIC, which helps companies leverage social media intelligence in China. Sam, thanks for coming back to our studio today to share some examples of companies who have learned how to integrate Chinese culture and China's internet culture into their social media strategy in China and even other parts of their business. Let's start with Mizone, a popular drink brand from Danone.
So I think the first case with Mizone I think is quite interesting. Mizone is branded as sort of a restorative drink. It restores minerals and, after you've exercised a lot, or even if you're just tired. Well, during the World Cup, Mizone released a bunch of tweets after each team in the World Cup lost. Some of the high-profile teams like England, when they lost, Mizone released a tweet that said, "England, don't cry," hashtag don't cry. China wasn't even in the tournament. The tweet was kind of meant to make the fans of England and other high-profile teams that lost when they got their own tweets to kind of make them feel better with a little bit of humor. But how they leverage Chinese culture, and particularly Chinese net culture, is through puns. So each tweet was released by the Mai Meng team. Now, the Chinese name of Mizone is Mai Dong. So that's where the Mai comes from. But the Mai is also part of a very hot net slang at the time, Mai Meng, which is to play cute. And so the pictures were actually kind of cute. And so it played on a hot meme at the time of Mai Meng, or playing cute. But then it also leveraged something called a style of language. In this case, it was don't cry style of language, right? There's a long history in China of brands or of websites creating a style of language. So it's a hashtag style of language. So it's incorporated two very clever net culture memes that really drove the virality, how viral it became. And in fact, it was quite viral. It had 143,000 retweets, which was more than twice what Nike got. Adidas had about 95,000, so better than Nike, but not better than Mizone. I think it's worth noting that Nike and Adidas used a lot of media, created very expensive TVCs. They had, obviously they have a lot of stars, right? There were sponsors of certain kinds, whereas Mizone, purely using the internet, and in this case, net language.
Is there a difference between wit and humor in the West and in the East?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can look at one of the most famous cases of viral cases of sort of this adaptive marketing that we're talking about, responding to events or things that happen in events like the World Cup. You can go back to the Super Bowl a couple years ago in the US, and Oreo had a famous dunk in the dark tweet. The lights went out in the Super Bowl, it's completely dark. And Oreo posted a tweet saying, hey, you can still dunk Oreos in the dark. It was funny, right? And it's very timely, right? But in the case with the Mizone tweet, I think it shows that you can not only be funny, but in this case, kind of punny. Chinese language, there's a lot of the humor in Chinese language, and especially on the internet, is around puns, right? And if a foreign brand uses Chinese puns, it really demonstrates that they are global, but also that they are local. So again, Nike or an Adidas has a global campaign and they're trying to localize, but here with MyZone, they are very local and using very local humor.
So my question is, did this campaign have any reference to traditional Chinese culture or non-internet culture?
Yeah, I think it actually, the campaign refers to sort of a movement, right? You have the MyMong team, and they're leading a movement, Don't Cry movement, a response to to all these teams losing. And in Chinese culture over the years, actually there have been a lot of movements, and it allows youth to identify themselves with a movement like in the past, but this particular movement is not political, obviously, but it is something that they can relate to, that's something very topical and that's very, very exciting. So it's very energetic, but at the same time, it's not very threatening.
Let's take a break to hear from Ken Hong, Weibo's General Manager of Marketing Strategy, with a thought or two about how brands should be leveraging advertising products, big data targeting capabilities, Weibo Pay functionality, and other commercial tools to maximize the marketing results.
Thoughtful China? Well, I just love it. I've actually been on the show. I like watching the show. I think it's informative, it's fun, it's timely, it's a good talking point. What else can I say? I really enjoy it. Should be more of it.
So I think leveraging the culture cues are still extremely important for social media marketing like Weibo, because I think, again, the brands are interacting and having conversation with consumers. So you do need to know what people are talking about. And I think on Weibo, a couple of things that brands particularly need to think about. As I would call it, the event marketing that leverage some of those themed big events that have the explosive conversation on Weibo, whether it's like the Chinese New Year celebration, or it's those big celebrity news or other kind of big events. So I think that's number one. Brands need to think about from a leveraging culture cues. Second thing I would say is from a TV or Weibo cross-screen interactions. So I think that's increasingly important there as well. So it's also what kind of shows are on, what kind of movies are being played, what kind of music are being launched. So I think, again, thinking from the culture, that perspective in terms of the leverage in the culture cues. So that's point number two. And I think the third thing is leveraging the hot topics, right? So that's on Weibo. Again, people are having these conversations discussing what's hot, in the society right now. So how brands pay attention to the hot topics and find the right angle to insert the brand dialogues into those hot topics. All 3 points I think are very important for brands to leverage the culture cues and in their social media marketing.
Thanks, Ken. Welcome back to our studio, where we're talking to Sam Fleming about how to integrate Chinese culture and China's internet culture. Next, let's look at Anta.
So I really like this Anta case. So Anta, it's like a competitor to Nike in the local market here. And this case is actually from a few years ago. It was from, say, 2008 or 2009. And what's interesting is that at that time, a lot of the local sports brands were hiring spokespeople, foreign spokespeople. So in this case, Anta hired a basketball player called Louis Scola. He's played for the Houston Rockets. So I hired him as a spokesperson, and looking at what Nike has with Jordan, the Air Jordan logo, an icon, a very iconic. They were wanting to create a similar icon for Louis Scola. And so they looked for inspiration not to their creative agency, but actually to netizens. Because MBA is massively popular in China, and on the forums, the BBS forums, there are a lot of people talking about the MBA and in very descriptive and clever ways. So they actually gave the nickname to Scola, the netizens did, as for 四克拉, which in Chinese is 4 carat, right? As in 4 carat diamond. And if you look at the logo they created, right, it's a diamond and it has a 4 in it. And the 4 is actually also the same number that is on Scola's jersey. So that became, just like Air Jordan logo, that logo was put onto shoes, and it was even put onto clothing like shirts and hats. So whereas the MyZone case is really informing sort of your social media strategy, you know, this is a case where social intelligence can actually inform your overall creative strategy or even your product development strategy.
So in this case, social intelligence inspires more than just communication, but actual product design. Have you seen other cases of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we work with companies across the organization. We'll work with PR teams, we work with market research teams, we work with creative teams, with CRM teams, sales teams. So all this intelligence, it gives you insight into your consumer, right? And of course it gives you insight into how your consumer is talking on social, and that can inspire your social strategy. But it actually can inspire your overall communication strategy, your overall business strategy.
Thanks. Let's move on to Mercedes Smart Case.
Mercedes Smart Case. This was from a few years ago as well. And in this case, the inspiration from netizens came from the auto culture. Okay? The auto culture on the Chinese internet, netizens, every month we're collecting about 20 million comments all about cars from these auto communities where people go talk about specific types of cars. They're fans of the cars. They write about whether the cars are good, they're bad, what's good, what's bad about them. And you can see this picture of my friend Ellen. She actually bought this Toyota Yaris inspired by netizens' very positive comments about the car. Said the Toyota Yaris was very, very good. Now that's not surprising, you know, a netizen being, or a consumer being influenced by social media around a purchase decision. But what's even more interesting is that once she decided to buy the car, she actually went back to social media and she found conversations where people were organizing a group purchase. Okay? In Chinese it's called a tuangou, so a group purchase. And someone said, hey, I want to buy a Toyota Yaris, who wants to join me? Well, within 2 weeks, my friend Ellen joined that conversation. 54 other people joined that conversation. They're all in Shanghai. They went to a dealer in Shanghai and said, we have 55 people. You want to give us a good price? So they actually gave a significant discount, and those 55 people drove away in Toyota Yarises. You know? And so this group buy culture is very common, right? And this is before there was Groupon. There was before this was a mainstream aspect. And so Mercedes Smart, they saw that kind of culture happening, this group purchase, along with something called a second kill. And that was where it's a flash sale. So on that time, e-commerce sites were selling, would offer an amazing discount for a very, very short period of time. So Mercedes Smart, they took those two concepts, set kill and group purchase, and on Taobao, they launched a campaign asking netizens to sign up to buy a car. And within just a few minutes, they sold a ton of cars. Within just a few hours, they sold about 255 cars, right? And all of this was inspired by net culture.
So in this case, was this more of a PR stunt, or was it actually about selling cars?
Well, they did sell the cars, right? And that's for sure. I think probably it was more about PR, because there's a lot of media wrote about this amazing, you know, social commerce in China and selling so many cars so quickly. But there's actually an opportunity to sell cars through the internet and through social media, and we're seeing that more and more. Although it does create challenges for, I think, the auto companies to figure out who in the organization owns this sales channel. Is it PR? Is it digital? Is it the sales team? If they're able to find leads through social, what dealer does that go to? It creates kind of, this opportunity creates organizational challenges, right? But that's also kind of the lesson of social intelligence. It's creating opportunities all the time. It's up to organizations to figure out how to leverage them.
Now let's talk about Singles Day.
Singles Day. So I think many people know about Singles Day now. It's become the Black Friday, if you will, of China. But actually, it's not a new holiday, if you will. It started years ago, well over 10 years ago, if not longer, from Nanjing University. Nanjing University students creating a Singles Day. They were not ready to bow to the pressure of getting married from their parents, so they wanted to celebrate being singles. In the 2000s, especially towards the late 2000s, the internet, netizens began to pick up this as a holiday. And so on Weibo especially, netizens began to talk about Singles Day and celebrating Singles Day. And by 2011, the buzz was so big that Taobao actually picked up on this, and they turned Singles Day into a massive commercial holiday. Now they picked 2011 because it's like mega Singles Day. It's 11/11/11, November 11th, 2011, and they promoted it very well. But I think it's not just the promotion that did well. It actually resonates with a part of modern Chinese culture, and that is that there is an immense pressure to get married. And at least in Shanghai, to get married, there's a pressure for you to have a very good job, right? To have a car, okay, and to have a house, right? And it's increasingly hard to get a good job, to be able to afford all of that. So netizens began to really respond or really resonate with the concepts behind the holiday. So I think Taobao was quite smart to pick this up, not just because it was clever, a play on numbers, but actually it really resonated with what consumers were really feeling. And at the end of the day, it's been quite successful. Now, Singles Day regularly generates more revenue than Black Friday in the United States. And Singles Day is actually, it's all online, whereas Black Friday is combining online and offline sales. So it's, I think, another example of how you can really understand Chinese net culture, use Chinese net culture to understand Chinese culture, and also use Chinese net culture to generate real impact.
Now, are companies and brands actively engaging Chinese holidays?
Yeah, I mean, they're looking to understand how netizens celebrate holidays. We work with a number of clients, for example, Christmas, right? It's not really a religious holiday in China. It's more of a date night, right? And so when we work with beauty brands, for example, we can identify how netizens are talking about preparing for their date night, right? And what kind of looks are in this year, what kind of makeup is in this year. And there's a Women's Day, which is a very common holiday, but there's also a Girls' Day, which is the day before Women's Day, which is a netizen holiday. And so we've recently been seeing that brands are looking to leverage Women's Day, but also Girls' Day. So I think the internet, again, gives you a window to understand quickly changing ideas about what is a holiday or how to celebrate a holiday, and ultimately how to leverage that.
So Sam, tell us about AMD.
AMD. This is back in 2006. It's when blogs were king. But at that time, the blog queen was Xu Jinglei. Right? And so AMD hired Xu Jinglei as a spokesperson. And they created a whole campaign around her. And so what we'll do first is let's take a look at the video. And in the video, I may need to explain a little bit what's going on. So you're going to see in the video, you're going to see some red chairs racing through the street. But in Chinese, they're actually called sofas. Okay? So you're going to see a bunch of red chairs racing through the street and trying to get to Xu Jinglei. So let's take a look at that.
Okay, let's give our audience a chance to view the video.
有 AMD 双核炫龙64移动计算技术，随时随地无线上网，好心情迅速分享，炫出自由，随我左右。AMD 双核炫龙64移动计算技术。
So what we saw with those sofas racing through the street is actually a reference to net slang, net language, and it's to grab the sofa. And to grab the sofa was a popular term in 2006 when blogs became very popular. And Xu Jinglei, typically when she would post a blog entry, she would get 300,000-400,000 comments on her blogs. And so if you were the first person to comment on a blog, then that was called grabbing the sofa. Right? And so the idea is that if you have AMD processor, your computer is going to be faster, you're more likely to be able to grab the sofa. And so I think, again, an interesting case where it's the spokesperson was chosen largely because she was a famous blogger, in addition to being a celebrity and a movie star. But they incorporated net language into the copy as well. And this is all part of the bigger theme is, I think for a lot of foreigners or even people who are older in China, they may not get it when they see the communication, but that's almost entirely the point, is to show that the brand actually gets it, gets what their audience gets and what maybe other people don't.
Sam, thanks for coming into our studio today.
Thank you.
That wraps it up for today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Youku, Tudo, and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo, WeChat, and Twitter. And join our LinkedIn group. See you again.